Dear students, today we are going to talk about the drugs used in myocardial infarction. Okay, although the topic is drugs used in myocardial infarction, but today we will talk about the clinical aspects of myocardial infarction, that means the management of myocardial infarction. The drugs used in myocardial infarction, that means the pharmacological aspects of the drugs. We will talk about these things in details in the respective chapters. Suppose aspirin is used in myocardial infarction, and we will talk about the details pharmacology of aspirin in the chapter of antiplatelet drugs. Okay, so let's start. First comes the pre-hospital management. Now what happens in myocardial infarction is that there is severe excruciating chest pain, or maybe pain in the chest and in the areas of radiation. Okay, and there may be associated nausea and vomiting, profuse sweating may be there, and the patient is feared to death. That means there is fear of impending death. Okay, now what will be the pre-hospital management? Suppose the patient is at home, the ambulance is being called, and now the ambulance has arrived and the staffs of the ambulance are taking the patient to the hospital. So at that time, what will be the management? First of all, you have to relieve the pain. So pain relief is the most important thing. So pain relief with GTN, that means glyceryl trinitrate sublingually. Okay, that may be tablet or maybe spray, but preferentially spray. So sublingual glyceryl trinitrate spray, you can give this drug. Or if there is provision, that means if intravenous provision is available, then you can give intravenous opioid like morphine. This is morphine 2.5 to 5 milligram, sorry, this is diamorphine. So 2.5 to 5 milligram diamorphine or 5 to 10 milligram morphine. Okay, so morphine is readily available in our country. Diamorphine is not that much available, right? So we have to give first of all glyceryl trinitrate sublingually for pain relief, and if there is availability, then we can give intravenous morphine, 5 to 10 milligram morphine we can give. Okay, and as the opioid analgesics produce nausea and vomiting, so we have to give an antiemetic with the opioid drug. Suppose we can give ondansetron intravenously we can give ondansetron. Okay, ondansetron intravenously, or we can give another drug that is named prochlorperazine as a antiemetic drug. Now hospital management, after reaching in the hospital and the patient is admitted, now what will be the management? The most important part is the hospital management, right? So the management of myocardial infarction is tricky and it is always changing. So you cannot say that these things are a permanent treatment pattern. No, you may have to change your management according to the situation, right? But remember these four things: MONA, MONA, M for morphine, O for oxygen, N for nitrates, and A for aspirin. These are the drugs you must give irrespective of the condition of the patient. So these drugs must be given in all conditions. So morphine, oxygen, nitrates, and aspirin. Okay, now morphine is given intravenously to manage the pain. So the purpose of morphine is to manage pain. Okay, and oxygen is administered if there is evidence of hypoxia, okay, pulmonary edema or continuing myocardial ischemia. Of course, that the patient is having an infarction, a part of the heart is infarcted, so there will be uh, uh, imbalance between the supply and demand, so there is a chance of hypoxia. There is a very big chance of hypoxia, so we have to give oxygen. Then nitrates. Now nitrates such as glyceryl trinitrate sublingually or by IV infusion are used to treat angina, but in our country the glyceryl trinitrate is mainly given sublingually and orally. Okay, so intravenously is rarely used. Okay, so these are things. Glyceryl trinitrate used in angina, although it is written angina here, but it is, of course, it is used in myocardial infarction as well. Now then aspirin 300 milligram should be given preferably before arrival to the hospital, and clopidogrel 300 milligram should also be given. So these are the antiplatelet drugs. Antiplatelet drugs should be given. Normally aspirin, normal dose of aspirin is 75 milligram, but at the start of treatment of myocardial infarction we give 4 aspirin tablets at a time, right? So 4 multiplied by 75 equals to 300 milligram. So 300 milligram aspirin is given, and it is better to give at clopidogrel 300 milligram. Both are antiplatelet drugs. And then heparin, low molecular weight heparin, mainly low molecular weight heparin like enoxaparin should also be considered. And almost all of the cases of myocardial infarction we give low molecular weight heparin, okay, like enoxaparin. Now come to for STEMI. You know that myocardial infarction can be of two types. One is STEMI and another is non-STEMI. So STEMI means there is ST segment elevation like this. So this is the ST segment. This is your P wave. Okay. Q, this is R, and here is your ST. So ST segment elevation means this segment is elevated. Normally this segment is much lower, but in this case normally the ECG looks like this. Right? So normally the ECG looks like this. This is P, Q, R, S, T, right? So ST segment, normally this is the ST segment, but here this ST segment is elevated, right? So this is ST elevated MI where the ECG change is found, but in case of non-STEMI there is no ECG change but there is elevation of cardiac markers like troponin I and troponin T. So that is non-STEMI. In case of STEMI, ST elevated MI, if a patient presents to the hospital with symptom onset within 12 hours, if the patient comes within 12 hours, then perform primary PCI, percutaneous coronary intervention is gold standard. So PCI is the gold standard treatment if the patient comes within 12 hours of symptom onset. Okay. If PCI cannot be delivered within 120 minutes from the time when fibrinolysis could have been given, start single dose of fibrinolytic drug like alteplase or tenecteplase or streptokinase, and if unsuccessful, if that fibrinolysis becomes unsuccessful, then residual ST elevation on repeated ECG. You find residual ST elevation on repeated ECG, then perform angiography with follow-up rescue PCI. That means you can see that a patient has come after 10 hours. Okay, a patient has come after 10 hours of symptom onset, right? But in your hospital there is no cath lab, there is no facility of primary PCI. Primary PCI cannot be done in your hospital. Then what will you do? If you refer this patient to another hospital where 24-hour PCI is available, PCI facility is available for 24 hours in another hospital. If you refer this patient to that hospital, that will consume the 2 hours, okay? That will consume this 2-hour time period within which PCI should be done. So you cannot perform PCI because you will refer the patient, there are paperworks, there is preparation for PCI, so that will take more than 2 hours to perform PCI, okay? So that 12-hour time period will be over. For that reason, at that moment you have to give fibrinolytic drugs, okay? Fibrinolytic drugs like alteplase, tenecteplase or streptokinase, okay? You can give these drugs, and if you see that after giving these fibrinolytic agents, there is no improvement, okay, and there is the fibrinolysis is unsuccessful, that means there is residual ST elevation, still the patient has ST elevation on repeat ECG, then you have to perform angiography with follow-up rescue PCI, okay? Then both PCI and thrombolysis can only be done within 12 hours of symptom onset. So after 12 hours of symptom onset, there is no indication of performing PCI and thrombolysis, okay? Thrombolysis or fibrinolysis, whatever you call it. So there is no indication of these procedures, okay? So if you want to do PCI or if you want to do thrombolysis, you have to do within 12 hours of symptom onset. Now there is the here comes the hour rules. What are the hour rules? There is a 2-hour rule and a 12-hour rule. So what is a 2-hour rule? Now suppose a patient is patient A with new onset STEMI arrives at your hospital during your night shift at 3 a.m. After a couple of hours of symptom onset, the patient arrives at your hospital at 3 a.m. Okay. The interventional cardiologists start work at 6 a.m. which means that there is no way the patient will receive primary PCI within a 2-hour period. Okay. Then in such a case, you would transfer him to another hospital with 24-hour PCI capabilities so that he could still have PCI within a 2-hour period. If for some reason a transfer is not possible, then give him stat single dose of a fibrinolytic drug. A repeat ECG would be warranted after 60 to 90 minutes to check for residual ST elevation. If present, then rescue PCI would be needed to be performed. Okay. A few hours later, patient B arrives at 5:30 am. You perform an ECG and discover that he has STEMI. Now he reports that the chest pain started 10 hours ago. You realize that the interventional cardiologists will start work soon and they will be able to perform PCI before 2-hour window expires at 7:45 p.m. Why 7:45? Because you have to allow 15 minutes to cannulize the patient and source a fibrinolytic drug. Now, as such, you would not transfer him to another hospital to give him a fibrinolytic drug. You would wait for the cardiologist who will perform a primary PCI on him as soon as they start work. Okay, hope you understand this thing. Now the 12-hour rule is that if a patient arrives at the hospital at GP referral with STEMI, the symptoms began 12.5 hours ago. So here is more than 12 hours have been passed, right? So in this case, primary PCI is indicated only if there is still clinical signs or ECG evidence of ongoing ischemia at the hospital. But preferably we will not perform any PCI, we will not perform any fibrinolysis or thrombolysis. Okay, we will not do these things, and fibrinolysis is never indicated in this case. Okay. Now what will you do on discharge? What are the drugs to be given on discharge? So on discharge there is dual antiplatelet therapy should be prescribed. And what are the dual drugs? Aspirin and clopidogrel. So aspirin should be continued lifelong. The patient will receive this drug, this aspirin, for lifelong. How much aspirin? 75 milligram aspirin per day. Okay. And clopidogrel for 12 months. Along with aspirin, the patient will receive clopidogrel for next 12 months, and after that you will stop the clopidogrel and you will continue the aspirin for lifelong. And then you have to give some drugs like beta blockers. So give beta blockers in the treatment procedure as soon as the patient becomes hemodynamically stable. Okay, his blood pressure becomes stable. At that time you can give beta blockers, and continue beta blockers for 12 months in patients without heart failure and for indefinite periods in patients with heart failure. And then you have to give AC inhibitors or ARBs. Give AC inhibitors or ARBs in the treatment procedure as soon as the patient becomes hemodynamically stable, and give ARBs to those who are intolerant to AC inhibitors. And then another most important drug is statins. You have to give drugs like atorvastatin or rosuvastatin, whatever you like. You have to give statins. So at the start of treatment of MI, along with the other drugs, you have to give atorvastatin. Sorry, the spelling is atorvastatin. Okay, you have to give this drug 80 milligram atorvastatin at the start of treatment of MI. Okay, this drug should be given. And here is a quick note that for STEMI, PCI or thrombolysis are the options, but for non-STEMI, low molecular weight heparin is the option. Low molecular weight heparin like enoxaparin. Okay. Low molecular weight heparin like enoxaparin, and a new onset LBBB is characteristic for an MI. If there is a new onset left bundle branch block, then that is a characteristic of an MI, and then you have to give thrombolysis in those patients. Okay, so the point here I want to mention is that for STEMI, PCI thrombolysis, and for non-STEMI, that is low molecular weight heparin or enoxaparin. Now if we summarize the drugs, okay, so what are the drugs you should give? Number one, if you say that glyceryl trinitrate. Number two, morphine, that means opioid analgesics. Number three, antiplatelets, aspirin and clopidogrel. Antiplatelets. Then number four, you have to give an anti-ulcerant drug. You know, this MI is a stressful condition, so in case of stress there is increased production and secretion of gastric acid, so give a proton pump inhibitor along with that. Okay, then number five, you have to give low molecular weight heparin like enoxaparin. Number six, you have to give statins. Okay, And number 7, if the patient comes within 12 hours, you have to perform PCI, or you have to give streptokinase or altiplase, tenecteplase, etc. Okay, so these are the drugs which are mainly used in myocardial infarction.